got their fans? We should all have some fans, you know. I've got this. I've got a fan in front. Yeah. Okay. So you're looking well. The heat tends to do that to people. Hopefully you don't fall asleep in your seats. Yesterday went to the park with Mika, and we lay in the sun. And then after a few minutes, I was like, I don't like this, laying in the sun thing, just roasting. I think it's my complexion. I just have a strong natural aversion to it. I had very bad sunburn once when I was 16. I was in a workshop in Germany, and I went this outdoor swimming pool, and they had a very hot day like today, so perfect time to go to the swimming pool. And I was there for 4 or 5 hours, no sunscreen, and my back was completely lobster red for 3 days, and I still have a line of freckles from shoulder to shoulder because of that time. So that's a cautionary tale for all of you. Even those of you with olive skin, please wear sunscreen. And enjoy the sun more than me, perhaps. Okay, so I'm going to invite the band up. So please greet those who haven't had the chance to greet yet, and we'll begin shortly. Okay. Morning. Yeah, straight away.
Yeah, yes.
Can you lead the clapping for this? Okay, so we're going to begin. Let's all stand and let's sing Everywhere That I Go. 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's read Family Pledge number 5. So, Family Pledge number 5. Our family, the owner of Chunalguk, pledges to strive every day to advance unification of spirit world and the physical world as subject and object partners by centering on true love. Okay, please be seated. Join me in prayer. Heavenly Parent, thank you for this beautiful summer's day. And all of us can be gathered here this morning, and we're grateful for a community where we can share together our experiences with you, our difficulties, and also all the blessings that we recognize in our life. We want to take this chance and this day to return gratitude to you and to be open to the blessings you were supposed to bestow upon us. We pray for all those family and friends who cannot be here this morning, and for those who are going through difficulties, we pray for them. And please give us the strength to support them in the coming days and weeks. I pray these things on behalf of all my brothers and sisters here today, and in my name, Chris Maloney, husband of Mika Kanno, blessed and couple, Aju. Okay, thank you. So, I will invite the children to go to Sunday school. Have a great time. Thank you, Diana. So this week we close to where we are now. There was the tragedy at Grenfell Tower, where people lost their lives, and some people are even still missing. One sister, Theresa Hayes, was actually nearby and offered her support at that time to people who were, had to leave their homes with nothing. And I think this is just a really good representation of community spirit, going to help where it's needed. And I'm sure her mum's proud. And also, connected to that point, I would just like to invite us to have 1 minute silence for those people who lost their lives this week so close to where we are. So let's bow our heads. Okay, thank you. So it's summertime, if you couldn't tell. On the announcement sheets, which are all available, there are several workshops there detailed: summer camp, HARP 9-day summer workshop. One thing I will announce is that the dates of the next Central London DP workshop have changed due to a conflict in the booking. So it's no longer going to be in October, but it's actually from the 4th to the 5th of November. So please make note of that change in date. So the last one we had was a really good community event. So if you weren't able to make that, it'd be really good. I really encourage you to come next time in November. This afternoon, there's a healing seminar with Kathy Hayes, and that will be in the Kent room at 2 p.m. If you want more information, please speak to Kathy. Yeah. And the message today will be given by my wife, Mika. If you don't recognize her, it's because she had her hair chopped off, and she looks very different. Feel free to compliment her. And before that, we're going to have a presentation from Robin Marsh about UPF. So please welcome him up.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. My brief is just to introduce Universal Peace Federation. On the back, I'm not going to talk to it, but there will be a loop of like an introductory PowerPoint presentation that we usually make. So, Universal Peace Federation was started 2005. It came on the foundation of preceding organizations. So, as you probably know, Margaret and myself, we've been working with this for pretty much the last 20 years. So we've built up quite a foundation of people and activities. I'll say Universal Peace Federation is a broad gate. In a sense, you've heard of the narrow gate, like with St. Peter in front of it. This is the broad gate. So it's like the funnel that you can, first of all, introduce people to true parents, to our vision, our ideals, and then bit by bit you can make a longer term relationship with them. So if you have a Sikh friend, a Muslim friend, someone of any number of faiths or no faith, it's the initial way to invite them. There are other approaches. Of course, you can invite through Women's Federation, you can invite through different humanitarian activities, you can do WAIT, Marshall's here, you can do other approaches as well. But this is a particularly broad way where there's a very flexible approach. We have a range of activities from genocide awareness to Environment Day, International Family Day, International Women's Day, Youth Achievement Awards. There's so many different types of activities. There's one where you can slot in particular guests or friends that you have. Our main approaches are particularly the religious and political interface. And because we have so many events in Parliament, we have such a background of working in Parliament, then we can connect both religious people and parliamentarians. So around this area, we want to start a think tank. And that think tank can then, over a period of time, build up and influence government policy. That's the plan. The other area is marriage and family. So in marriage and family, we have, just recently we had International Family Day together with you. And that was a really lovely occasion where we could award exemplary families and look for best practice. And sometimes you get the humorous examples of the husband and wife kind of interaction. But we could look for best practice. What makes an exemplary family? And this is a good preparation for inviting them to a blessing preparation seminar and then to a blessing. So each year we do a blessing. And those kind of blessing activities, you can invite people from all different faiths because it has an interfaith approach. Marriage and family then is one that we've always promoted, always helped and supported. So those two areas are the kind of main areas. As a branch in central London, you can have your own activities, or you could plug into the activities that we have here already. So we have many events here. Every month we have particularly an introduction on the second Thursday and a more advanced one for people who known us for a while on the last Tuesday of each month. So we have this in a rhythm. And then every quarter we do a weekend retreat. So this becomes a rhythm that we keep up. So there's always some time you can plug in your new guests or new friends. When you meet someone on the street or at the bus stop or the corner grocery store or your next door neighbor, it's somewhere that you can bring them. Therefore, it becomes this, as I said, this broad gate which anyone can bring any guest or friend, and it can give them a dilute introduction to True Parents. Particularly, there's an introductory video which shows True Parents doing many different activities, but a lot of humanitarian activities and a lot of different, together with a lot of different VIPs from around the world. So it's a good approach to introduce their work and their significance. That for me has been a good way to build up a network of people. The other thing is, if you're a person who likes networking, or even you don't like networking so much, there is a way to plug in people and to also gain experience for networking. Networking is something we need to do as tribal messiahs. For tribal messiahship, we need to reach out. And sometimes that's not so comfortable. But the more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. And actually it becomes enjoyable. The more you do it, it accumulates. You accumulate confidence. You accumulate contacts. When you accumulate contacts, you can always connect one to another. So then you become a hub where you can connect so-and-so to so-and-so because they have similar interests. Or you can connect so-and-so to so-and-so because they need something and that person has something and needs some help. This way you become a hub of a network. And as a hub, then you become trusted and people come to you. And you become a source of support and help for them. That's how you become a tribal messiah, because you become a source of help, support, and people look to you because you have confidence of supporting and helping others. As tribal messiah, then we can fulfill our responsibility, and also we can grow as people. So growing is something that happens very naturally. And we do it in many different ways, by learning principle, by teaching, by reaching out to others. But this is one vehicle that you can use in the pathway of that growth. In a sense, then this forms like a subject and object relationship with our Family Federation community. Then you can invite people from your network, your friends, from your neighborhood, and then from them you can slowly introduce them. You can gradually and very comfortably introduce them to suitable activities within Family Federation. That way, I think Universal Peace Federation performs a very useful role in being a bridge between our internal community, which has very high ideals, and actually teaches a very difficult course in life, if we are honest. And this wider network that we can introduce step by step, stage by stage. That's all I want to say. And if you have any questions, please come to me afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So I'll invite the band up, and we'll have a few more songs before we have our message from Mika today. So welcome up the band. Let's stand together and sing a new song with inspiration.
Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oops. I think I got it. Okay, good morning, everybody. Hi, nice to see you all. Yoshi, are you taking a picture? No pictures. Hi, everyone. I felt quite relaxed about this morning up until 2 songs ago when I started to feel like, oh, shoot, now I have to go up and speak in front of everybody. But thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Although I was hoping in smaller numbers today. But no, it's fine. I am very happy to be able to share this message with you all today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mika. I occasionally MC for you all. I'm married to the guitarist Chris Maloney. Most of you know that, but some of you might not. So the message I want to share with you today, I've entitled it All the Good Stuff, because over the past few months I've actually been, sometimes you get into this state where you just think about things and you kind of come to these slow realizations, and I feel like past maybe actually 5 or 6 months I've been kind of in this state, and when I got to the point of putting these ideas down into a message, I just felt like, they're all like those happy fluffy feelings, and like happiness and joy and hope, and I didn't want to just name this one thing, so I just called it All the Good Stuff. So hopefully today we can talk about all the good stuff, and I hope, but in a very direct and to the point way, so a message comes across. But this is my message. So it sounds a bit fluffy, so I decided to narrow it down and to give myself some objectives for today's talk. So I do have some objectives, so if we can go to the next slide. My first objective is going to be a message about hope and truth searching. So ideally, I'd really like everyone to leave church today feeling hopeful. But, everyone's in different places. So if at least one person can come away feeling, oh, I feel very hopeful and happy about the truths that I live, then I'll consider my message to have been a success. My second objective, next slide please, is about the pursuit and happiness. And I don't want this to get confused with the pursuit of happiness. And I'll come to that more later. I'll talk a little bit about both, but actually what I want to focus on is pursuit and happiness. And my next objective, if you could go to the next slide, is based on productivity and success. So you might start to understand that actually I'm going to speak about some work-related things, and productivity and what that means. Yay. And my fourth objective, if you can go to the next slide, is about playfulness. And the place it has in our life and the value it has. So that I've done my little introduction, I can tell you, I've told you my name, but I'm going to tell you what I'm not now. And I am not actually a teacher. So I have never been trained to convey ideas to other people. I'm not a pastor, so I have not studied intensely the Holy Scriptures and cannot give you any deep insights into our Holy Scriptures or the Bible, or like Uncle William Haynes, it seems like he's read everything to do with any sort of religion. So I'm not one of those people. So I want to do that. So if you don't agree with what I say, that's okay, because I don't pretend to think I know everything or that I know the truth about everything. So these are just, the next slide will talk about what I am. So I'm a Mika. I was named Mika when I was born. And I am actually a unique individual embodiment of truth. As is true, if anyone said this statement in this room, it's true. We're all unique individual embodiments of truth. No one in the world is exactly like me. No one in the world is exactly like any of you. And if I think even just about my past week that I've had, no one in the world has had the same exact week that I had. So none of you have spoken with the people I've spoken with. None of you have, been to the dinners I've been to or ate the Korean barbecue I ate last night, except for Chris. Chris was there. So this is where I'm coming from. This is the message I want to share with you. Comes from this perspective that the reflections I'm sharing are based on just my life and my thoughts and the kind of internal world that is in this head, and that the conclusions I've come to thanks to these. So yeah, this is, I'm a God-made human being, an expression of truth with life experiences, what I just mentioned. If we can go to the slide about seeing the principle in my life. Yeah, great, you guys are on it. So about 6 months ago, I found a new job. I was working in desktop support in a very old organization in central London, and I'd been job hunting for a little while, and about 6 months ago, I finally found the new job, and it was a huge step, very scary step, to quit a job that you're very comfortable with and to go into one that you don't know exactly what it's going to be like. It just seemed like a cool company. So in this new company, my job title is I still do support, but I'm also a project assistant. So I assist project managers in a digital agency. So we do website rebuilds, rebrands, digital animation. It sounded really cool to me, but I've actually been incredibly surprised at the amount of principle I've rediscovered through changing my job. So that's kind of cool, isn't it? But mostly because I assist project managers, I've been having to learn about project management and what they do and what their role is. And I've been reading and going to a lot of, I went to a few conferences as well. But since I've changed my job, this sentence from the Divine Principle, the light of truth, has popped into my head a few times. And it's just from the introduction to the Divine Principle because, of course, everyone remembers the introduction best, because it's the one that you've read and reread, because every time you reread the principle, you start from the introduction again. So the quote is all scriptures have the same purpose, to illuminate their surroundings with the light of truth. Yet when a brighter lamp is lit, the old lamp is outshone and its mission fades. There must emerge a new expression of truth that can radiate a new and brighter light. And of course, this is talking about the divine principle. But ever since I was little, this sentence kind of stuck in my head. I quite like reading, and when I was younger, I used to read deep into the night sometimes, even when I wasn't supposed to, and I shared a room with my sisters. So I'd take a little flashlight, hide under my covers, and continue reading. So for me, like, the light in my head just represents what you read the world with, in a way. So light is what you read books with, but in this sense, the principle becomes something through which you read the world or your life experiences. So this has been quite something I've been reflecting upon quite a lot lately, because I also think that actually if God is infinite, if God is infinitely great and powerful, then also the truth must be infinite. And so there's never going to be a place where we can say, I know all the truth, because God is limitless, so why can't the truth be limitless? And in this sense, like our True Father, and he's the DP, said that a new light will come. And I think in our lives, we should always be searching for this light. And through the principle, we can read our lives and become really inspired and really happy that we see the principle working around us through the people we meet and through our jobs and everything. So project management, I've learned, is the next slide. Yes, is the response. So project manager has a role in a team, but I found that actually a lot of companies, so I work in digital and software, a lot of companies are moving towards the servant leader concept of leadership. It's not a dictator kind of leadership anymore. So when a project manager has a project, their only role is to empower all their team members to reach their personal goals and their full potential. So I thought, isn't that really incredible that, I don't know, it makes me think of the role of a parent, that bosses are more and more coming to understand that by being a boss isn't how people are motivated. It's by serving them and helping them reach and believe in themselves. And I feel like that's incredibly similar to the role of a leader, if we think about leadership in our church, or of a parent as well, whose job is to cultivate and grow people constantly. So let's see if any of you can guess where this next quote is from. Next slide. Respect all things as holy, and respect all men and women as holy. Respect yourself as a holy person, and respect your mind as holy. Respect your body as holy. Can anyone guess where this is from? I'm sure you can. Huh? Yeah, it's Father's speech, How to Gain Spiritual Help. And this is something that I often think about and come back to. So I found at work that actually this is a concept that is being put into practice in some ways. Of course, they don't talk about holiness, but they talk about people's unique and individual skills. And they talk about how in a team, if you focus on people's weaknesses, the purpose of the whole doesn't get reached. You need to focus. So they're focusing much more now on putting people with unique individual skills together in a team that can complement each other and work together. And I find this is an incredibly principled way of working. And to be honest, I feel like I find it really incredible that there are people in the world that have studied how people's minds work and how people feel inspired, and they're actually maybe putting the principle into practice in a way that we can learn as well, how to put the principle into practice in the groups we live in our families, in our lives. So I feel like there's a really incredible synergy that we can have with people that understand productivity and how people work, and us, our understanding of the principle, and bringing them together. So I've been really incredibly inspired by this in my new workplace. And I was reading a book about this. So if you can go to the slide called Scrum. Yeah. So it's called A Revolutionary Approach to Building Teams, Beating Deadlines, and Boosting Productivity. And it was written by a guy called Jeff Sutherland. And he created this form of project management that is implemented in most software companies and a lot of digital companies as well. And I was really, really surprised to find that one of the main chapters is entitled Happiness. Next slide. And it seems really strange, because when you talk about productivity, where does happiness come into it? But it's becoming ever more apparent to a lot of huge companies that if you have unhappy employees, you're not going to make any money, because they're going to leave. Or if you have unhappy employees, you're not going to make any money, because they're not going to be inspired to do anything for you. So this idea of having happiness is in the workplace is becoming ever more present. And I'm sure not everyone here has experienced this in their workplace, but of course, this is a philosophy that's slowly spreading. So I want to make you all aware of this, because maybe one day it'll reach your workplace too, and your bosses will care about the fact that if you're happy or not. But what he says about happiness in this book is really interesting. He starts out by talking about Thomas Jefferson, and there's a quote in the next slide about Thomas Jefferson, who says, "Our greatest happiness does not depend on the conditions of life in which chance has placed us, but is always the result of a good conscience, good health, occupation, and freedom in all just pursuits." And then the author of this book goes on to say in the next slide, "People want to be happy, not happy in a complacent, sheep-like way, but in a way that is more active, extolled in the kind of happiness that comes from pursuit." So this is what I was saying in the beginning about objectives, about how it's not necessarily the pursuit of happiness, but it's happiness and that comes along together with pursuit. How we feel most fulfilled and complete when we feel we have a goal to achieve and are striving towards a greater good. So in a workplace, this might be, in my situation, we have a website to rebuild. Every single person in the team is working towards this goal, and they feel they're empowered by the fact that their own skills are being put to use to reach this goal. But then, of course, you would think that happiness, a lot of people will think, oh, someone's really successful, he has a good job, he has a good family, a good home, that's why he's happy. But actually, they've found that happiness is not the result. Happiness is actually the cause. of success in many ways. So in the next slide, we have a quote from the Divine Principle. People feel joy when their desires are fulfilled, and the word desire is, however, often misunderstood, because in the present circumstances, our desires tend to pursue evil rather than good. So I think we often read this. Yeah? Oh, thank you. I have a clicker now. Don't worry, guys, the slides are almost over. Anyways, so this concept of, I think in the DP we often think of the concept of pursuing happiness itself, but also this quote talks about pursuit in the sense of pursuing evil rather than good. So it also talks about the value of the pursuit, of having a goal. And which button do I press? Just the center one? Or the right, the side one? Towards where? The back. Not working. Oh, that works. Anyways, sorry guys. So I think this value of pursuit is something that we don't think about so much. And I think if we look at this slide, Jeff Sutherland says that he goes into companies where they have projects that are failing, and he reshifts things around in a way that the project can be delivered on time, or at least as little delay as possible, and making sure the people working on the project are happy and comfortable. But he says that also being clinical and scientific, he didn't understand exactly how to empower people until he understood that he had to change himself. And he realized that actually greatness is deeply rooted in joy. So the value, the energy people have to reach their goals is rooted in the joy that they have while they're pursuing that goal. And in the book, he also talks about climbers. And I know there are a few climbers in this room. He talks about a climber that he spoke to that went to the peak of Mount Everest, and Jeff asked this climber, like, wasn't it just so incredible to reach the peak and to take that picture overlooking the clouds? And the climber was a bit like, oh yeah, it was okay. But when he told the story about this incredible feat he did, the climber really focused on, that night when he almost died because of the wind, and he was stuck in his tent and there was so much snow. And then the writer was saying the guy's eyes lit up incredibly when he was talking about these really, really difficult moments. And this is when the author had this moment of inspiration and understood it's not actually when you reach the end of your goal that you're happy, but your happiness comes as you are reaching towards it. Sorry. I knew I shouldn't have trusted the PowerPoint too much, so I'm just going to go on without it for now. Anyways, the conclusion about happiness is actually that studies have shown that happiness doesn't come to people when they reach their goals, when you get that job or when you get that promotion. But happiness is an indicator of success. Happier people are actually more successful generally, are the people that are happier in marriage, more successful in marriages, health, friendship, community involvement, creativity, and in particular jobs, career, and business. So happiness isn't actually the result of all the good things you manage to do in your life. It's what will help you get there, actually. So I personally struggled for a really long time with my previous job and the fact that I just wasn't happy there. But thanks to kind of this new job and seeing all these different ways that people are motivated in their lives is really great and inspiring for me to see how I can implement the joy of the pursuit into my life. But of course, that's all in good. So previously there was the slide that said how. That's all in good, but there are a lot of times when life just really gets you down, when there are a lot of tragedies happening in the world, even personal tragedies maybe, where you just feel like you cannot reach it. But I think really what Thomas Jefferson said makes so much sense. And I'm going to go back to his quote was that our greatest happiness does not depend on the condition of life in which chance has placed us. So he's acknowledging that chance places us in places we don't want to be, in situations we don't want to be in. We see people we love suffer a lot. These are not things that we necessarily have control over. But happiness is actually, then Thomas Jefferson says, the result of a good conscience. So, in a way, cultivating ourselves and our conscience. Good health, taking care of ourselves and our health. Occupation, so actually keeping ourselves in productivity and in a healthy place by keeping ourselves busy and creating things. And then he says, most of all, freedom in all just pursuits. So that really, to me, reflects what the DP says, to pursue good and not evil, and to make sure our internal desires pursue good as well. So lastly, the last point I wanted to talk about was about playfulness and celebration, because I went to a talk by a woman, Londoner, who's created a company called the School of Play. And her mission and her job is to teach adults how to play again, because we forget in life how to play. And play and playfulness is directly connected with happiness, and it is actually also directly connected to the process of learning. So there have been studies about play that compare play and learning. And when you're a kid, these two things are actually not separate things. When you're like adorable Aaron's age, he's playing, but he's learning. He's learning how things work and how the world works. And as adults, we forget that the learning process is actually a playful process. So I think this is a really great way to incorporate more happiness in our life, even when the conditions of our life around us are not maybe so great. It's to remember to play. So I went to this conference that this lady was talking at. She had every single person stand up in the room. Everyone looks really hot, so I'm not going to ask you to stand up or exert yourselves. But she had everyone stand up in the room. There were about 200 people in the room, 200, 300 people. And she said, if you feel like you've played in the past month, stay standing. If you haven't, sit down. And I'd say like about half the people in the room sat down and felt like in the past month they hadn't played. And then she kept on going, and she was saying, if you've played in the past 2 weeks, stay standing. If you haven't, sit down. And it went back to down to, if you've played in the past 2 days, keep standing, everyone else sit down. And there are only about 4 or 5 people in this room of 300 people that were still standing. And she was saying, we need to learn from those people who are still standing how they incorporate playfulness into their life. And that doesn't mean, going out and playing football, but it can, if you really love football. But it can just mean, incorporating a playful attitude in the work that you do, and joking around with your colleagues and making everyone's life at work more happier and more playful. It can mean, for me actually, it means just taking time off. I really love stretching. It's not really yoga, because I don't go to yoga classes, but I like stretching. So for me, I feel playful and just a bit lighter when I do stretching. And I think genuinely, meditation and prayer for a lot of people in this room are probably a form of play, because you feel connected to God and you feel a bit lighter and happier. So I think in this sense, playfulness will really help us maintain a happier and joyful attitude in the things that we do. And from that speech in How to Gain Spiritual Help, it talks about how God and the spirit world are truly attracted to people that are giving their best effort. And I feel like how much more attraction must there be if our best effort is done in a happy and playful and joyful way. So in all these things that I've been thinking about since I started this new job, I feel like all these little things just come together in a good bundle. And they're very difficult to separate from each other. Happiness and learning and playfulness, and also productivity. Because I'll admit to you, although I hope my old bosses are not watching this video, I was not very productive at my last job. But because I had a really hard time finding that happiness and joy in the day-to-day with the people that I was working with. But thanks to these books that I'm reading and these conferences that I've been to, I really feel like all these things, the principle and the search for truth, are really, really incredible ways of reading, in daily interactions, and seeing this new, these new strategies of project management put into place. And I really feel like eventually, when I'm a parent, maybe these strategies will make even more sense to me, because it's about uplifting other people. And that's why I entitled this short talk, all the good stuff, because I don't feel like these things are separate. I feel like reaching our goals and our full potential are directly connected to how joyful we can be while we're trying to get there. And so it's really, really hot, and I'm actually starting to sweat, like to drip. So I'm going to conclude my talk here. I really hope I could convey what I've been thinking about. It's quite difficult when you come to some conclusions over a certain amount of time to express them in a way that can be understood. But I really want to share with you guys this hopeful feeling that actually there are people in this world that are understanding the principle and putting it to practice in different ways, in ways that we might not have been able to see yet. And it's really exciting to see that, and to see that the world is even with all the horrible things happening in this world, there are a lot of people that are going more towards the concepts of love and unity and compassion. And we can, I hope we can all be really excited in this next week to look at your world, your surroundings, in a way where you're looking hungrily to see good things happening and the principle around you. Anyways, so that was my talk. Thank you for sitting through it. Have a good Sunday. Do I need to pray? Or okay. Please join me in a closing prayer. Our dearest beloved Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for this Sunday and for the sun and the heat. And we really hope that we can enjoy this day and share it with people we love, so that we can start our new week refreshed and energized. And we really pray that each and every day our hearts can become more open to receive the blessings that you bestow upon us every single day. And we really want to invite you to walk with us during this week. And we pray for all of our brothers and sisters that aren't here today. And we hope that we can all be connected, and through prayer and through thinking about each other and supporting each other constantly. I offer to you this prayer in my name, Mika Kanno and Chris Maloney of a Blessed Central Couple. Jew.
Okay, let's take a few moments to reflect and pray.
brothers and sisters coming together under your name and grace and beauty. Beloved Heavenly Father, this is how you wish us to be, true brothers and sisters, able to recognize each other, forgive each other, help each other, understand each other. I truly thank you for this moment that we spend together, Father. Please guide us for the coming week. Help us to strengthen the best part of ourselves so that we can also radiate during the week and inspire other people to do well, to be closer to you, Heavenly Father. This I pray sincerely in the name of true parents, in the name of the Holy Spirit, in the name of Jesus, and in the name of Christine. And John.
Please take a seat. So thank you, Christina. And thank you to Mika for the message you gave. I didn't know what she was going to talk about, or just briefly, so thank you for all that you shared. And I think it's really a skill, a muscle we need to exercise to see the goodness in the world and see the good that other people are doing, which is sadly not what the media does. I think good news is not really as attractive or sensationalist as bad news. And I think so we have to really go against the media in that sense and really look, seek out the goodness in the world around us. So thank you again for the message. So today is Father's Day, and we have got a lot of fathers in the room. It's curry lunch, and for you, it's free. And also, I was really glad, and it was really nice to have Abby singing with us. She used to sing with the band consistently all the time, every week, as much as she could. And this is her last week here, because she's moving all of her things, 100 boxes, she told me, from here to Germany. And so we won't be seeing her very much. Please come back again, Abby. Abby, would you like to come up here and say something? No? Okay. Well, I guess she's looking forward to saying goodbye individually then. Okay, that's about 100 people, so you're creating some work for yourself there. But please, before you leave today, have a chance to say goodbye. Enjoy your lunch and have a blessed week. Thank you.